Hey, everybody, and welcome once again to Nose in the Book, a Bible reading commentary with me, your host, Pastor Justin Van Reed. So great to be with you for the next few minutes as we take again a look at 6 more chapters from God's Word. 5 and 1, that's 6. We have before us, 2 Kings chapter 16, Titus chapter 2, Hosea chapter 9, and Psalm 126, 127, and 128. If you have any questions or comments about these chapters that I don't get to today, please feel free to post those in the comment section below. Otherwise, let's jump right in here. 2 Kings chapter 16. We begin in the southern kingdom of Judah with the next ruler of Judah, and his name is Ahaz. He is the son of Jotham, and he is going to reign in Jerusalem over Judah for 16 years. He is a wicked king. He did not do what was pleasing in the sight of the Lord. Instead, it says he was like the kings of the northern kingdom of Israel, even sacrificing his own son in the fire. That's a pagan ritual and is an abomination to the Lord. And so it says, in this way, he followed the detestable practices of the pagan nations the Lord had driven from the land ahead of the Israelites. So he's acting just like the Canaanites that they had driven out. And think about why they were driven out: because of their sin. So God brings judgment upon him. King Rezin of Aram, King Pekah of Israel come up to attack Jerusalem. They besiege Ahaz, but could not conquer him. And so Ahaz sent messengers to Assyria. Now, Assyria at the time, right? Syria and Assyria, different, very different. So maybe it's better to call Syria Aram, and so we don't get confused. So Israel and Aram, they're not nearly as big or powerful as Assyria is. So Ahaz sends to Assyria to say, I'm your servant, come help me. Right? Aram and Israel are attacking me. And so the king of Assyria does, because of the payment received, he attacks Damascus and kills King Rezin. So, problem solved, right? Well, Ahaz goes to Damascus to meet with Tiglath-Pileser of Assyria. And while he's there, he sees this altar. So he goes and he has a model of the altar sent to a priest, and this priest follows the instructions and builds an altar just like it. So when Ahaz returns to Jerusalem, he sees this altar that he loves and he presents offerings on it. And then he removes the bronze altar from in front of the Lord's temple and placed it on the north side of the new altar. And he says, use this new altar. The bronze altar will be for my personal use only. And so more and more here, we read of this. And so this is a wicked king, and he is worshiping these false gods, even though he's the ruler over Judah and Jerusalem here. And he's leading Judah into the same sins that we see again and again in Israel, the northern kingdom, and that is, he says, the pagan nations have already been judged for and are being judged for. All right, so that's 2 Kings 16. We come then to Titus chapter 2. Apostle Paul, writing to Titus, gives him more instructions on leading the church there. Various groups within the church. Older men, he says, teach them to exercise self-control, to live wisely, be sound in faith, and filled with love and patience. Older women, live in a way that honors God. Don't slander others. Don't be heavy drinkers. Teach others what is good. Teach the young women. Right, the older women should be an example to teach the young women about how to love their husbands and their children, and living wisely and pure, and taking care of the household, doing good. And then young men, live wisely. Be an example, he says to Titus. You yourself, be an example to them by doing good works of every kind. Let everything you do reflect the integrity and seriousness of your teaching. Teach the truth so that your teaching can't be criticized. Another group here, slaves, must always obey their masters, do their best to please them. So similar to what Paul writes to the churches, like in Ephesians, for example, we have here in Titus chapter 2 some instructions for various groups of people within the church. And then he has the summary paragraph at the end here. It says, the grace of God has been revealed, bringing salvation to all people, and we are instructed to turn from godless living and sinful pleasures. And we should live in this evil world with wisdom, righteousness, and devotion to God, looking forward, in essence, to the next world when Jesus will come. And so he says, Titus, teach these things, encourage the believers to do them, correct them when necessary, don't let anyone disregard what you say. All right, we come then after Titus chapter 2 to Hosea, back in the Old Testament, Hosea chapter 9, Hosea the prophet. And the prophet Hosea recording message from the Lord here on Israel's judgment that is coming upon them. O people of Israel, he says, do not rejoice as other nations do, for you've been unfaithful to your God. And so now, here's some of the things that will happen. Harvest will be too small to feed you. This comes from, by the way, from Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy 28, for example, right? If you obey, here's these blessings that happen. If you disobey, here's the things that are going to happen. So much of this is reflected there, right? Your harvest will be too small to feed you. There'll be no grapes for making new wine. You'll return to Egypt and Assyria because you'll be hungry. He says you'll, basically be low on food. And if you read Deuteronomy 28, all throughout that, all about how God will punish his people by making it so that they face famine. He says, the time of Israel's punishment has come. The day of payment is here. Soon Israel will know this all too well because of your great sin and hostility. You say the prophets are crazy. The inspired men are fools. But the prophet is a watchman over Israel for my God, and traps are laid for him wherever he goes. He says, the things my people do are as depraved as what they did in Gibeah long ago. God will not forget. He will surely punish them for their sins. And he talks about here how Israel should have been grateful and trusted the Lord because they had nothing. They started with nothing, and God gave them everything. And so this judgment is coming upon them for all their sins. All right, that's Hosea chapter 9. We come then to our three Psalms here, our three Psalms of ascending to Jerusalem. 126, a Psalm of rejoicing in restoration after the exile. When the Lord brought back his exiles to Jerusalem, it was like a dream. We were filled with laughter and we sang for joy. The other nations said, what amazing things the Lord has done for them. Yes, the Lord has done amazing things for us. What joy. And so, Lord, fully restore here. Restore our fortunes as streams renew the desert. Those who plant in tears will harvest with shouts of joy. They weep as they go to their plant to plant their seed, but they sing as they return with the harvest. All right, Psalm 127. Unless the Lord builds the house, the workers build in vain. It's wasted. Right? Unless the Lord protects the city. In other words, we rely upon the Lord every day for everything. Our complete hope is in God. We're utterly dependent upon him. If he's not involved in it, if he's not working, if we're not trusting in him, if we're not submitting to him, he says it's useless for you to work so hard from early morning till late at night, anxiously working for food to eat. So trust in the Lord. Do what's right. Talks about children being a gift from the Lord, a reward from him, like arrows in a warrior's hand. Blessed is the man whose quiver is full. Lots of children, right? They're a gift from God. All right, that's Psalm 127. Then we come last here to Psalm 128. How joyful are those who fear the Lord, all who follow his ways. You will enjoy the fruit of your labor. How joyful and prosperous you will be. Your wife will be like a fruitful grapevine flourishing within your home. Your children will be like vigorous young olive trees. They sit around your table. It's the Lord's blessing for those who fear him. An encouragement here. Trust the Lord. Do what's right. Fear the Lord. Obey him. May the Lord continually bless you from Zion. May you see Jerusalem prosper as long as you live. May you live to enjoy your grandchildren. That's the blessing of life, right? Enjoy your grandchildren. You get to that point, you know you made it. May Israel have peace, he ends with. All right, so that's Psalm 128. Again, thank you for being with me these last few minutes as we took a look at 2 Kings 16, Titus chapter 2, Hosea chapter 9, and Psalm 126, 127, 128. Hope you enjoy your time in the Lord's Word. Until next time, keep your eyes on the Lord and your nose in the book.